I guess to start out with, about 8 years ago, I was homeless. I was staying in a tent. Me and my wife had two dogs. This particular place was in Empire, Oregon, right around the coast. Uh, First time I ever noticed it, it was like suitcases lifting up, and I thought it was a raccoon. There was like 70 pounds of stuff that kind of lifted up, inside the tent off the ground. And I told my wife, I said, wow, that's a powerful raccoon. Anyway, later on, I found out that that wasn't what it was. Um, they're like humps that come up in the ground. They're about a foot round, and they move around very slowly. If you have any wind, any like grass moving, um, it's really hard to notice it. They're very slow moving. The only fast ones I've actually seen have been in California. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. I have seen them move really, real fast, actually, around Keswick Dam out of Redding, California. There's only two places I've ever seen them in the last 8 years. But I actually thought I was crazy when I first started seeing this. And at the point of being able to hear them, see them, and feel them, and also watching the dogs react to the humps when they come up, like in the tent, I mean, they move so slow, sometimes you have to ask yourself if you're actually seeing it. But I verified it to myself watching the dogs, and I've also seen more radical movements by it, or whatever it is. And it just blows me away because I've looked online. There's nothing out there. I asked myself many times if I was actually nuts seeing this, but I know I'm not now. I've verified to myself. I've reached out to like Don Meldrum, hoping that he might know somebody to investigate this. In California, it was different. It was like we had plastic around our tent. We had about a 10 by 20 tent there, and we had plastic draped on each side. So if anything come up beside the tent, you could hear the plastic, that way the water would run off. And it was really weird there because it sounded like two chickens or something running up to the tent. And it always happens most just at dark, just slightly after dark, or just when it's getting dark enough out to where you can't see. And it's like two chickens would run up, and my wife would sit there with me, and we'd listen to this. And they'd run up on each side of the tent. You could hear the feed on the plastic, and then all of a sudden, it's just dead silence. And then these humps would come up on the floor of the tent, and they'd start moving around real slow. And I'd watch them go straight to the dogs, or they'd come straight to you. It's like they were, I don't know, interested in anything alive. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear with my life I've seen this, but nobody else has seen it apparently. I do have one friend of mine here in town that says he has seen it, and I thought he was joking with me, but he wasn't. He swears he's seen them. He thinks it's the gray aliens. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm 56 years old. I have heart problems. It's just been driving me crazy because I want to get out there and prove that these things are real. But I have a hard time getting back out there in the woods right now. And I was declared dead 5 years ago, so I've died a couple of times. I've actually, they've shocked me back, but I'm in not real good shape, so I can't really, go running out there to prove this stuff. But anyway, what do you guys think about that?
Hey, mine. CH in the chat had asked, how did your dogs react to it?
They would. I'd watch the hump go up to them while they're sleeping on the tent floor, and I watched. Mine was a male. My wife's was a female, little Dotson, and she'd jump up, look on the ground, look around underneath of her when it went under her. And then I watched her go up, jump in a camping chair inside the tent, turn around, sit down, hang her head over the edge, and sit there and stare at the floor, wondering what it was. The most radical things I've seen from these is I watched it lift a cooler up in California around Catholic Dam. Me and some friends were staying on some property there, and it's all solid quartz. The ground is. I mean, you can take a chisel, and it'll take you a half hour to dig a foot deep hole. And I mean, the ground's just solid rock. And to understand how the ground could move like that is just beyond me. I just don't get it. But yeah, the dogs would react to it, and it would actually scare them. But every time I've seen this, it automatically goes to like anything alive, like the dogs or me or my wife. I've watched humps go under my wife and actually raise her up, or one hump go under her and raise her up like 6 inches to where I almost just ahead and woke her up and, freaked out. I've only seen that once, but like if it goes under a bush or something, the bush will lean over. This is one of the ways I noticed it. I watch a limb go down toward the ground and then come back up real slow, and then realized that it's a hump in the ground moving around.
You said this is California, right?
California and right here in Empire Lakes in Oregon, right here in Coos Bay.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the only two places I've ever seen it.
Hey,
I've never seen
Mike.
it. Yeah.
I have another question for you. Did you see that phenomenon before or after your death experience?
Before and after. Or
Oh,
excuse
wow.
me, before. Excuse me, before.
Mhm.
I haven't
Me-
been back out there since my heart has been, messing with me. No, I've seen it beforehand.
That's really interesting. I've never ever heard of anything like that. That's a
I
first.
know. Yeah, and I've been online. I've been all over online. I mean, for years now, I've looked, and I just don't see anything on it. And it's just eating me up inside to want to know what it is. I mean, it's just crazy. Like I said, I thought I was crazy at first. I thought, man, I'm seeing things. But after, a couple of years went by, I realized that I'm not. I can hear it, see it, and feel it. It's like if one of the ways I noticed it is if you throw like a hefty sack of cans outside a tent and there's no sunshine to, contract and expand them, and they start crackling. That's one way I've noticed them. One day I noticed one that way. It was a hump moving underneath the cans, moving the cans in the bag. But like I say, if you have any wind, you really won't notice it. I mean, because they move so slow, but they move. You can see them. I mean, they move. You just really got to pay attention. And it's just, I just don't know even what to think about it. Like I say, it's just driving me crazy to want to know.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie Tremors? Everybody's kind of saying that's what it sounds like. Kind of.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's not. I mean, yeah, it's not like, I don't know. It's not like that. It's just really slow moving. Like I said, I've seen them move fast, but only a couple times in my life. And the fastest I've seen them is in California. And I've only seen them, during one summer we were staying there. I know it sounds really crazy, but I can't say how much it is true. I've actually seen these things. Like I say, I'm 56 years old. I've been a really down to earth person all my life. As a kid, I spent years and years in the woods. I hunted all the time, and it just blows me away that I would just now notice this, in the last 8 years. Because I've sat out in the woods as a kid, just quiet hunting all my life, and I never noticed it until just like the last 8 years. But yeah.
So I had one theory, but I don't know that it so much applies now, but still, maybe I'll just throw it out,
Okay.
maybe just in case. Have you ever heard of the breathing forest?
Like the roots coming up from trees blowing. Yes. This
Do
is
you
not
think
at all that.
not
There isn't.
that?
I've seen
Okay.
it. No, I've seen it when there isn't even a breeze. I mean, and that's the only thing you'll find online as far as the ground breathing or anything I've ever punched in online to find out, tried to find out what it is. It's just unexplainable. I was hoping, if I reached out maybe with you guys, and I've texted other people like Don Meldrum. I've even hit him up, and he's he's an anthropologist. He's into Bigfoot. I've talked to him for a few years now, and he hasn't even replied to that yet. I mean, it's like, I don't know whether he doesn't believe me or it's too far-fetched for him to go there when he's got other things going on. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But hardly anybody else, like I said, there's one person in my life that has actually admitted and really was serious about telling me that they've seen him because they've camped out there with me out there during that time. And I thought he was just kidding me at the time. And he goes, no, really, I'm serious. And I thought he was joking until he said it a couple times to me. And, like I say, he claims it's the gray aliens, but I don't know. I don't really believe that per se. It could be, I don't know. But I'm a realistic person. I mean, I've drove spikes in the ground. I've drove, sharp objects, thinking it was a mole or something or, whatever. And this is something that I haven't said. When you see them, when I've seen them, I've hit the ground while they're moving like toward me. And they stop every time, back up just a little bit, and then come again, like they have some kind of intelligence. And every time that happened, if you actually, take your fist and hit the ground or like a stick, anything, pound on the ground, they'll stop for a second and then they'll start moving again. And that's happens every time. I haven't personally seen them now because I haven't been back out to the lakes here for probably about 4 years. About 4 years. But I've seen it plenty of times while I was out there. And it's something that you would never notice unless you were actually kind of looking for it. I mean, that's the whole thing. So I could see why people wouldn't see them, but I noticed them, so I can't believe somebody else wouldn't. But just verifying it through my dogs, and I've heard it. I've heard it through cans and stuff moving. I've heard it through the brush, like bush moving, tilting over and then coming back and watching the limbs kind of bounce off of whatever they're hung up on and seeing the hump in the ground. I've felt them go underneath me. I've actually felt them on my butt, okay? but I've felt them. You can feel them with your hands if I felt it with my hand move. I've been out there digging in the ground and decided to quit because I don't know what they are. It actually freaked me out a time or two like that. I just don't have any answers, and I was hoping somebody out there might have one.
God, I've never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah, I haven't
know, right?
either.
I know, right? No, yeah.
Have you ever tried to record these things?
Yes, I have on my phone, and they move so slow that it's really hard. I mean, you don't really notice it. I have figured out a way, and I'm going to pay somebody, if I don't die before the time, I'm going to pay a friend of mine if I can get him to believe me enough to go out there and look. But I figure if you set up a grid with lasers, the laser would move on the grid if you put the grid like 20 feet away or even 10 feet away, because it's only a 1 foot area that these humps are actually circumference that move. I've watched them lift my bicycle up like 6 inches and come back down out in the woods. I'm not homeless now, but at the time I was. So I spent a lot of time out there. and it's just, I mean, dead silence and just at dark. When you start to where you can't see anything, is when I've seen the most action from it. Yeah, it's just that's about all I could really say about it. I mean, it's just I just have no answers for it, but I know it happens.
Yeah, well, that is an amazing story, and I don't think we've had anything quite like that. We get tons of stories here, but that one is completely unique. I wish we had some answers or some ideas for you, but
Yeah, it's not really a scary story, but I mean, then again, what is it?
yeah, it kind of is scary. It's a little unsettling.
It is really.
Because it's like, is this some type of like tectonic activity, or is this paranormal, or like who knows? I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm just really been in question ever since I've noticed it. It's like I tried showing it to my wife, and she's seen it, and it scares her. She refuses to really. She's seen it happen, but she refuses to really take it in. She goes, I don't even want to know about it. It kind of freaks her out. But she has seen it happen, and so has my son-in-law. I pointed out a cooler that lifted up in California. They both sat there and said, yeah, we see it. I said, check it out, and then they're like, do you see that? And they're like, yeah. And they were only like 4 feet from it, and they were staring directly at it and seeing it. And this cooler raced up, kind of, not really so slow, but fairly fast, and then back down, and it was like 50 pounds of cooler. And went back, came up like 4 to 6 inches, and then came back down real slow to the ground. And they sat there and watched it. And an hour later, I asked them about it again, and it's like they were in denial. I'm like, what? What the? I don't know.
Yeah. Someone in the comments said, let's see. Magenta. So I actually just Googled that because I'd never heard that term before. But apparently it's a term for any type of creature like moles or I guess like groundhogs and stuff. And he already clarified that he didn't believe that it was moles, right? Like you don't think that it's like moles or groundhogs or any of that type of thing.
No, I don't believe that at all. I've done all kinds of odd stuff, like drive knives into the ground right where they were at. Just, what is it,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like 2 feet in the ground. I've carried machetes with me and just drove them in the ground right where the humps are, as far as I could, and it didn't even phase it, whatever it is. It's like it had no effect.
Yeah.
It didn't react to it. It just still sat there and moved slowly. So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you'll have to come back and give us an update if you run across anything like this again, or if you have another experience, or maybe if you just find out like what the cause of it was. And also, interestingly enough, a lot of times we get people on here with unique stories, and then somebody will come up shortly thereafter with a similar story. So if you stick around and listen and like kind of tune into the streams, you may just come across somebody that's had a similar experience to you. That seems to happen a lot here. So it's kind of like magic. It's TikTok magic. But we really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I hope that you're able to figure out what it is so you can come tell us.